I cover the Democratic Party corruption a lot, but I think too many people are ignoring this Republican. And yeah, it's not breaking news that Republicans are terrible, but this Republican might be president in 2 years. He is governor of Florida, which is the third largest state in the country. If Trump...
You think DeSantis have a chance of being president?
He's definitely running for president. That's definite. And if Trump doesn't run, it's very likely DeSantis would get the nomination. If Trump might not be eligible to run, if there is a God and he's put in jail, which is highly unlikely that Donald Trump will ever see a jail cell.
If Donald Trump is put in jail, DeSantis will be president because you're going to have him mobilized around Donald Trump, and he would.
But the point is, if a few things break, the only thing stopping DeSantis at this point, assuming Biden is his opponent, is Trump. So that's why I think it's important, because he's going to get reelected the governor in Florida. He's popular there. Florida has moved right. And I want to go through, because literally this isn't like one cringe story. I'm about to go through like 5 or 6 insane authoritarian things that this governor has done. What is it, June? Let's just say in the last 3 weeks, that I really, it's just basically because he does so many things like that, people are losing their outrage. But if he gets away with this shit in Florida, what do you think he's going to try to do as president? Colin, let's start with this tweet. This is from a reporter this morning. Scoop. The state of Florida threatened the Special Olympics with $27.5 million in fines because the organization had a vaccine requirement at its games in Orlando this weekend. Late yesterday, the Special Olympics pulled the requirement. Florida said the vaccine rule conflicted with state law and disqualified Special Olympic athletes from competing based on their vaccine status. Now, I don't really give a shit what you think about vaccines.
He made it a law?
He cited
legislation?
No, he cited Florida law saying it's against the law for the Special Olympics to mandate that participants are vaccinated, even though that's probably not true. But because DeSantis is trying to play to the Republican base that is against vaccine mandates. And by the way, DeSantis' top health official in Florida was basically never for masks during the pandemic, never for vaccination. That's who he appointed as his top health person. So whether you're for a vaccine mandate or not, to me, is irrelevant to this discussion. He's using the threat of pulling funding from the Special Olympics. So disabled athletes or less abled athletes, whatever the proper phrase is. He's using the threat of, we're going to pull your funding if you don't put in a vaccine requirement. Now, I think there's a fair debate, to people who say, I don't think the government should have a vaccine mandate. I'm totally fine with that debate. I personally am mixed. I'm for masks on planes because, frankly, I mean, if you need to fly, that's a very... Yeah. But
what's crazy though is people forgot how they get it mixed up. Like even on planes and trains that they tell you it's up to you to do it. But if I put my mask on, that only protects you from me. It doesn't protect me from you.
Right. Well, no, if you're wearing an N95 mask, that's the best mask, and that has the best rate of protecting you from contracting it. The problem is, if everybody else, and it's not just on the plane, waiting in the airport, this and that. If nobody's wearing masks, and right now, by the way, not to change the subject, but cases are spiking and the media is just ignoring it.
Because they're not close. Don't nobody want to close nothing down no more.
Right.
Yeah.
But the point is, absolutely. But the point is, this governor, and I'm going to show you another example after this, is basically using the threat of pulling funding to get his way, his policy choice, under the guise of you're breaking the law, the Special Olympics, even though it's in court. It's been in court as to whether it's legal or not legal. There's ambiguity about whether it's legal or not legal. So he's basically using the power of his office to threaten the Special Olympics. Okay, Now let's move on to the Tampa Bay baseball team, the Tampa Bay Rays. I went to school in Tampa. I frequented Rays Stadium to watch shitty baseball and have a couple drinks. The Tampa Bay Rays, like a lot of baseball teams after Uvalde, have actually been putting out tweets calling for gun control. The Yankees put out tweets, stating facts about gun deaths and things like that. The Tampa Bay Rays, I think the Philadelphia Eagles. There's been some sports teams that have put out tweets basically, publicly calling for tighter gun control. Mm-hmm. Obviously, sports are corporations owned by billionaires, blah, blah, blah. So let's hear Ron DeSantis threatening their funding too. Here's Ron DeSantis.
Companies are free to engage or not engage with whatever discourse they want, but clearly it's inappropriate to be doing tax dollars for professional sports stadium. It's also inappropriate to subsidize political activism of a private corporation. So I think, either way, it's not appropriate. But we were not in a situation where use of tax dollars for a professional stadium would have been a prudent use.
So he's literally, the governor, his administration was going to provide tax dollars for their stadium, which is a whole different topic because a lot of taxpayers are forced to pay for billionaire sports stadiums, which they shouldn't be, but that's a different topic. Because they tweeted out tweets about calling for gun control, he's saying, hey, that money that we were going to give you, I don't think we're going to give it to you because it's irresponsible or it's inappropriate for
Let me tell you this.
Well, 1 second. It's irresponsible for corporations to be doing political activism. Well, that's interesting, Colin, if we could show the USA Today article, because, more than 40 billionaires are backing his reelection campaign. So his donors are free to do whatever political activism they want. If their political activism is going in his campaign coffer, he's cool with that. He gave massive tax breaks, by the way, every Republican does, to corporations, to wealthy donors. That political activism, we're not going to fuck with that. Activism that dares tweet out about gun control or maybe even just mild gun policy. That's irresponsible, inappropriate. So he's going after the Special Olympics. We're going to pull your money. He's going after the Tampa Bay Rays. We're going to pull your money. There you go. His campaign's backed by 40 billionaires. Who are they? By the way, these billionaires backing his reelection will be backing him for president if he runs. But wait, Ty, wasn't there a guy who looked like Woody from Toy Story who said corporations are people? Do we have that, Colin?
Do I believe that Social Security should take no part in deficit reduction negotiations? Is that the question?
They cannot add to the deficit.
And the answer is this. Social Security, Medicare, and Medicaid account for about half of federal spending.
A lie. Not the deficit.
Just hold
not
on.
federal losing. A lie.
About half of federal spending. And if we are ultimately, not just this year, but over the coming decades, going to be able to balance our budget and not spend more than we take in, we have to make sure that the promises we make in Social Security, Medicaid, and Medicare are promises we can keep. And there are various ways of doing that. One is we could raise taxes on people. That's not the way.
Corporations.
Corporations are people, meaning they could have as much activism as they want.
I wonder what they're going to say when automation happens.
Right. Well, automation
what's crazy? I'm just saying, like when people start to feel the effects of it. I wonder if you're gonna have that same energy. You know what's crazy? He said corporations ain't people, but they ain't gonna be taxing no corporations. They get tax breaks. But
he said corporations are people.
No, that's what I said. I know he's saying corporations are people, but they don't get taxed like people get taxed. They're only people when it benefits them. But what I want to say is, fuck Ron DeSantis. But that energy, that tweet saying that the Olympics won't be able to play, him getting on his bully pulpit, because he may not do any of this. It may just be all rhetoric because this is what his base wants to hear, right?
No, he'll do it. He'll do it. He was threatening to pull their money.
it may not work out, but there's a bigger point, right? Because he can take them to court and you can find out like, no, we already been here. This ain't happening. That none of that matters. They're not gonna remember that it didn't work out for him. What they're gonna remember is what he said when he went and fought and quote unquote fought for what they wanted. That energy Biden should have. That type of energy, when you see him doing all that, that's the energy that Biden should have, putting people out there. That's what I'm saying. That's the only point I wanted to make, was that type of energy. When you really trying to make something happen, you start getting on there, you start putting people out there, you start posting stuff. And this is the reason why Trump won. And this is the reason why he feels like he can win and run for president. He's had that same book where he's pointing people out, putting them out there. And he knows this is what his base wants to hear. And really, there's people on the other side that want to hear Biden say the same thing. But the reason Biden won, because he knows if he starts spewing this shit, people going to hold him to it. And there's a way to make this shit happen. It ain't like DeSantis says something is not illegal when he know it is legal, and then him trying to fight it. That's him just pandering so he can have people know that he have his back. But the reason that Biden won't do it is because he knows that, oh, if I say this, I can actually make this happen.
Well, people want Biden to actually use the power of his government to threaten like corporations and actually threaten to use government for good things, not to threaten to pull funding for the Special Olympics or baseball teams that tweet out about gun control. But I get your point. People want to see the fight. People want to see the president actually not like, the boy who cried wolf three times.
Care how they care. Like yell the way that those parents yell when they found out that their children was part of the people that was massacred. That's what they want to see. They want you to be mad. Like it ain't you sitting there and you reading off of speech. You just seem disconnected.
Right. Absolutely. But remember I said there's just so many things all at once. So go threaten the Special Olympics. I'm pulling your funding if you don't get rid of the vaccine.
This is in the last 3 weeks.
Yeah. Then he threatens the Tampa Bay Rays. That was this week for tweeting out, we're going to pull your funding for your stadium because you tweeted out something about gun control. Okay. Now, this is from NBC News. DeSantis moves to ban transition care for transgender youth's Medicaid recipients. The Florida governor's administration asked the state medical board to ban the therapies for minors while seeking to block Medicaid payments for all transition-related care. In fairness to DeSantis, he ain't the only one doing this. Greg Abbott in Texas is also doing this. Actually, Texas governor went a step further. The Texas governor is trying to criminalize parents of transgender children, teenagers, excuse me. He's trying to prosecute them possibly for having transgender children or, call child services, that kind of thing. And lastly, I won't go through this whole thing, but this came out the other day. I did a video on it. Colin, this is the Substack article. Ron DeSantis plotted an all-out assault on public universities. Without reading it, the short story of this, Ron DeSantis, again, was trying to pass laws secretly. This just came out. He's been pushing legislation to dramatically shift power from universities to his administration, where presidents of colleges would not actually have the power to hire their faculty. It would have to be approved by a board of officials, mostly appointed by the governor. So the governor and his board would have the decision on who could be hired at universities. And they would also have more authority on what could be taught at universities and what can't be taught. So, Republicans love small government, apparently, only when they want to take over public education so that they could dictate what is or isn't taught. You're right, Roger. That is Orwellian shit.
Check this out. I wouldn't be surprised, honestly, if Roger Stone is not a part somehow of his advisors.
Oh no, Roger Stone's
not in jail.
No, Roger Stone's a Trump guy. Full and full.
I think does it sound like Roger Stone? Some of it, because I'm looking at the things that he's picking to fight against.
It is Roger Stone, so he could be double dipping.
Well, him and Trump get along.
No. Trump has actually started saying some things publicly, kind of low key at DeSantis, because he sees DeSantis as his competition. So it's kind of like what DeSantis is doing, in my opinion, is trying to go further batshit than Trump. Thanks for watching, and make sure to tune in to Status Coup's daily live stream Monday through Thursday at 5 o'clock Eastern Time and Fridays at 4 o'clock Eastern Time.